Hey RogueTech fans, it's Blaine here, and I've got something special for you today. This is a preview of the HHR did I say too many H's? No, HHR update that we're going to see with Season 4. And some of the changes are massive. Today what I'm going to look at is just the mech bay changes and some of the equipment that you'll now see. So let's have a look. As you can see, this is just a random setup that I made. This is not my normal career, because obviously it's the current beta dev channel. So let's have a look and see how the mechs have changed. First thing you'll notice is there's a lot of differences. We now have specialist slots in the left and right torso. We've now got specified handheld slots in the left and right arms. The armour is up here where we're used to having specialist slots, and so is the structure. We've also got this very useful little window here that tells us how many jump jets, lasers, missiles and support points and so on that we've got, and of course you've got how much carry weight, which is now shown here. Other things that you'll notice, the central torso looks a lot smaller. This is because the structure and armour are now here for basis, and of course the side torsos appear slightly larger, but that's purely because of the additional one extra specialist slot. So let's have a look at an example mech to find out how things have actually changed. First one I'm going to look at is the one that I've actually set up to use some lasers. Now first of all, you'll notice that when I've added the armour, it appears up here, so the ferrocarbide laminate is here, the composites now appears here, but as before you've still got the extra slots that are being used where they're required for an armour module. Next you'll see the same with the structure, and of course specialist slots are currently empty, handheld slots currently empty. What I have equipped though are a medium laser on the right arm and two different PPCs on the left. Why have I done this? Because we've now got a big change to the way PPC capacitors, laser insulators and all of the other attachments as they now are have been designed. So you can see we have this range of new attachments in the game. You're used to things like the laser pulse and PPC capacitor because they were there before. The laser insulator has also changed. So let's have a look and see how they have changed. Now, take the laser pulse module, one of my previous favourites. This thing used to take up 4 slots and be a lot heavier. What you'll notice now is it only applies to one single weapon. It's the same with all of the others. We've got the nano fluid damper, which is a new item to boost autocannon and gauze effects. It reduces the recoil on both of those. Absolutely fantastic. PPC capacitor, again, only affects a single weapon from now on. As before, it does increase damage, increases heat, and it now has a misfire chance. What you will notice is these things are no longer needed to be switched on, so we don't have to worry about them blowing themselves up. In that respect, we just have to worry about blowing themselves up through misfires. The laser pulse module has a lower risk of misfire, only 10%, so that can be easily fully mitigated. Laser insulator, let's see what's changed here. This is now only applicable to a single laser weapon. Before, when you were using non-omni mechs, you could stack these and get a huge amount of heat reduction. But what you'll see now, it's just -3 heat generated for the attached weapon and 12% heat generated. So it's really good, especially for larger weapons. But it's not quite as effective as it used to be. It means we return to using more standard heat sinks. Anyway, let's have a look at the others. Let's start at the top. The Apollo MRM attachment. This is great. It means that when you're using MRMs and HMRMs, they can improve their accuracy, improve their evasion ignorance. But yeah, they do have -1 damage when firing with Apollo ammunition, and they've got reduced range when you're using Hunter-Killer ammunition. You must use either Apollo or Hunter-Killer when you're using this particular add-on in that weapon. Now we've got Artemis is now done as 2 separate attachments. So we've got the Artemis 4, again it will apply to just a single launcher, either an LRM, SRM or MML. As before, it increases accuracy. It does reduce indirect accuracy when you're firing with standard LRM ammo, but it's great. I mean, it effectively makes the target so much easier to hit. 2 evasion pips ignored, 2 chance increased to cluster on hit location, so really good. The Artemis 5, on the other hand, it's slightly heavier, so you notice the Artemis 4 is 1 ton per weapon and 1 slot. The Artemis 5 is 1.5 tons and 2 slots used. But it does have better stats. It's got 3 evasion pips ignored and an even better cluster chance, so it can convert your LRMs so they really pound a single location. We've already looked at the laser insulator, so let's move to the laser pulse module. This is slightly different to the previous version. The previous version was great. It basically reduced evasion ignorance and also increased accuracy with some minor side effects such as increased heat. What you'll see it does now, it actually converts the laser into a pulse laser. So it means that the laser that you will use it with will get 3 shots per activation instead of the standard 1. Each shot, of course, is reduced to 1/3 of the full damage, and it increases heat, but it also increases accuracy and evasion pips ignored. There is a misfire chance. Now, what you will notice is it can only now be used with standard or ER inner sphere lasers, and a maximum of 1 per weapon. That does actually include all of the specialist lasers. So, nano fluid damper, this thing is for the gauze and the autocannons. This will allow reduced recoil for specific weapons. I mean, that's so useful. If you've got a high recoil weapon, whack one of those in there and you've immediately reduced the recoil by 2, or only 1 for rack when they're using it 3 times more or greater. And finally, the PPC capacitor. Pretty much it can be used with any single PPC in the game, and it does increase the damage by 25%, but it does also increase heat by 30% with a 15% chance to misfire. However, I can't wait to get hold of an ultralight naval PPC and whack one of those on it. So how do they actually work when we're using them? If we move over to the left arm, you'll see I've put a standard PPC and an ER PPC plus an ER PPC capacitor. What the capacitors and all of the other attachments have is this little cogwheel sign. So if we click on the cogwheel, we have the choice of which of the weapons that it's actually going to use. So you can see PPC in left arm, ER PPC in left arm. At the moment, the ER PPC is selected, but we could instead decide that it's going to be locked onto the PPC. So it's as simple as that. You choose it there, and then that means that that capacitor affects that particular weapon. Of course, you could fit 2 capacitors in there and have 1 on each. On the other side, I've got just a single medium laser, and I've got a laser pulse module and a laser insulator. The laser pulse module is automatically assigned to the weapon because it's the only one there, and the same with the laser insulator. So that's how those work. The other thing that I've added to these, I've put on an XXL engine to show you in a second, and protective padding. You're thinking, what, protective padding? But it's changed. It now gives a minus 10% modifier to through armor damage, and a 10% resistance to critical hits. I'll tell you what, that protective padding has had a serious boost. Next, if we look at XXL engines, this applies to both the Inner Sphere and the Clan version. Oh no, they've changed. They now generate a lot more heat, plus 6 heat per turn. They generate plus 6 additional heat if you walk, plus 12 if your mech sprints. And jump heat generated is increased by 2. So you now have to think a little bit more carefully simply before you whack in an XXL engine. So yeah, think about that, decide what you're going to do. Now, the other thing I'm going to do while I'm on this particular mech is we're going to go to weapons, and we're going to go to handheld weapons. What I could do, as you can see, we've got a 12-ton carry weight. This is because I've installed the cockpit hot seat, which doubled up my carry weight. This particular mech that I've chosen, the Grand Dragon, only has lower arm slots here and hand on this side. So what we could do is we could put a laser pistol in. If we try and put it in to the right arm, it will error because no, there's no hand. We would need to apply it to the left arm where there is a hand. As before, carry weight for the weapon you use, as long as the weapon is up to half of the total carry rate, it can be used with a single hand. If it's above half of the carry weight total, you would need 2 hands. As an example here, you see, if I go and take the handheld Rack 2, this weighs 10 tons. As you can see, my carry weight is 12 tons, so in theory, you'd think, yeah, you can use that. But no, if you put it in, it warns you can't, and this is because it's above 6 tons, so we would need 2 hands to use it. Anyway, the other thing to put back in, if we put the laser pistol in, if we were to use this mech on the battlefield, you cannot use the laser pistol at the same time as the PPCs. If you remember previously, if you whacked a handheld weapon in there, you could fire it alongside every other weapon you're carrying. Not anymore. Now you have to choose to either use the handheld weapon or the weapons equipped in that slot. The other thing that we can do with it gives us more opportunities to customize our mech, because before we just had the 2 specialist slots, which were for weapons or special units. Now look, we can put an advanced optics in, and we can put an exchanger in, and it allows us to have all of those units all included at once. And in fact, I could also put in a combat shield, because these have changed, but I'm going to get into those in more detail. They no longer require a hand. What they require is a lower arm slot. So there we go. I've now got a laser pistol, a shield, an advanced optics Mark III, and an exchanger on the single mech. That is so cool. I mean, before, if you were trying to use handheld stuff, you kind of gimped yourself by missing out on some of these items. Anyway, let's move over to the next mech, which I've set up to have a look at for melee combat. It's a little bit similar. What I've done, I've whacked on a whole bunch of different items. I've put a 5-ton combat shield on this side. I put a 5-ton sword. Actually, what I'm going to show you first, with regards to the shields, let's see how they've changed. I've put 3 different shields here, just so you can see what they are. Let's start with the 5-ton. What you will notice is they have 2 modes. They've got a passive mode and an active mode. When they're in passive mode, all they do is protect the arm that they're currently installed in. And with the case of the 5-ton, it reduces it by 20% damage and gives you 40% AP damage protection and tack reduction. Pretty good, but it does reduce accuracy in the protected location. You can, however, put them into active mode, and in active mode they give the reduction across a number of different units. In this case, with the 5-ton shield, you'll see it applies to both the adjacent side torso and the centre torso and the head. And as before, this is where it will also grant you bulwark, where you get guarded mode, so 40% additional damage reduction when you're in cover, so absolutely brilliant. However, again, then it means when it's in active mode, every location that's protected suffers -1 accuracy penalty. So let's look up at the 10-ton shield. These were pretty commonly used before, so how have they changed? They again have the passive and active mode. However, what you will notice, whereas the 5-ton did not limit you from installing jump jets, the 10-ton restricts that. You cannot use it with jump jets. What it does though, as before, the passive mode just protects the arm, but in addition, the adjacent side torso. So just by installing it, that's 2 units protected, or two locations protected. In active mode, this does slightly more. It gives you better reduction, but it also gives you worse accuracy because it's so much heavier. So -2 accuracy compared to the -1 we saw with the 5-ton. Now we've also got some shields that go above 10 tons weight. So these are gigantic tower shields, and they are very different. So what you'll see again, like the 10-ton, you cannot use it with jump jets. And what it does, in passive mode, it protects the arm and the adjacent side torso, and it gives you full tack immunity with this 15-ton one, as well as a 60% damage reduction. However, you will notice it also reduces your walk distance by 20%. If we had a look at the 10-ton, we saw no reduction in walk distance. So, what does it do in active mode? It now spreads the damage reduction to every single location except the opposite arm. However, all attacks, not just those in the protected location, all attacks suffer a -3 accuracy penalty. And you'll notice that walk distance is reduced by 40%, and of course it cannot run when it's in active mode. So this thing is like a massive big slab of, I don't know, steel protected with force fields. I mean, you can imagine you set that up on the right mech and that thing is not going to take much damage, but on the other hand, it's literally got just the one arm it can shoot from with -3 accuracy when it's in active mode. So yeah, these are updates that Harkonnen has done to the shields, and personally I think they're great. The other thing that I'm just going to do, I'm just going to take the sword off. As you can see, we do have a 5-ton shield installed here with a lower arm available. If we move it over to there, it can also be installed with the hand present. But then of course we couldn't then put in the sword because we have no hand on this side. What you will also notice is, it's like, well, can't we install a shield on both sides to protect both arms? And the answer is no. No, you can't. Because if you try installing a second shield, it won't allow it. So while we can have the one shield, I'm afraid no, you can't have two shields. That's such a shame, isn't it? There should be an error message comes up, but I think it's flashing too fast for me to read. But anyway, you are not allowed to install two shields on the same mech, which is fair enough. Right, the other things to bear in mind. So, as I was saying earlier, when you're using a melee weapon or a handheld weapon, you cannot use the other stuff within the same arm. So in this case, if we'd have gone in with a sword before, yeah, that would have been the same if we'd have done a punch attack or a sword attack. That's not a problem. So to be fair, with regards to that, it doesn't make a lot of change. Of course, this mech also has an MML5 in the central torso, so that could still fire. And as before, you'll see I have both of the 10 tons worth of melee equipment, and I've still got space for an advanced optics Mark III. I just absolutely love these changes. I mean, it just gives you so much more flexibility. So I think that pretty much covers some of the major changes that we've seen to the Mechlab, and also some of the equipment that we've now seen. So I think if anyone can guess what HHR stands for, and no, it's not handheld rework, I've been told. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and next time I'm going to produce a video where I can show you how this actually works on the battlefield, because actually if you're using a sword you have to choose to wield it, and it's put back in a scabbard when you're not using it. Same with a pistol, I guess you got a giant holster. So yeah, that'll be the next one. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, please subscribe, and please tell all of your friends.